All right, shalom to the elect of Israel. First, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Waharaka Kodash, and double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. All right, this video, I'm going to be speaking about how there's no free will. Yeah, and these anti-Christians, right? These people that are, indoctrinated with that Christianity, the false teachings and the madness that they teach, one of them being free will. Everybody has free will, which is a lie. The scriptures don't say that man has his own free will and he can do whatever he wants. He can go against the will of the Lord. The scriptures don't say that. Everything is in line with the will of the Most High. All right, everything is in the plan and will of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. So I want to read Proverbs 20 and 24. It says, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? All right, so the things that people do on the earth is not by accident. The things that say, you can say presidents, prime ministers, certain people in positions of power around the world, they're not just doing their own thing. Okay, and now that goes for the people that are in a high position, and even on down to somebody that's in a lower position, even on down to the homeless person on the street. Everybody. All right, even the dog, man, all the beasts, the animals. All right, nobody's just there ain't nothing that's happening without the say of the Lord. And you know what the scriptures even tell you, man, about how the sparrows don't even fall. All right, the birds, they don't even die unless the Lord sanctions it, man. All right, I got that here. All right, I found that this is Matthew chapter 10 and verse 29. It says, are not two sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father? Okay, so without Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai's say, without the Lord confirming and having a final word, not even a sparrow, like a bird, and look at how many birds there are. All right, look how many of the Lord's creations there is. Okay, you would think something of that is of a little, as small as something as a bird. Even that shows you that don't even, nothing goes on there without the Lord even knowing, without the Lord saying. All right, the Lord controls everything down to the least detail, to everything. Everything matters, man. Okay, the Lord is the one that controls everything. All right, so I'm going to read that precept again. This is Proverbs 20 and verse 24. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? So what man thinks is his purpose or his hobbies or what he wants to do or his plans, okay, just going to the point of the wicked elites. All right, these kings of the earth and these presidents, and which really presidents are set up. All right, but you got the wicked elites, are those that are above these presidents and these governors and politicians, and that their wicked agendas and policies and enterprises, namely being the NWO, which they want to establish. They think that they're just doing their own thing, when really they're not. The Lord is the one that is controlling their goings, okay? Because why? Ultimately is to judge them, okay? The Lord has set them up to do all of this wickedness, so then he can turn around and judge them for all the evil that they've been doing. Okay, the Lord is a just power. He's a balanced power. Okay, he controls both good and evil. So when you have people that commit all these wicked acts, okay, bloodshed of murders and all, you can go through these different acts that people do. And just even as an example, you got a certain of those notorious murderers, they a lot of them, when they get interviewed or interrogated, a lot of them don't even, you know, can really give a proper understanding of why they acted the way they did. And that's just an interesting thing, right? Because ultimately we understand that it's ultimately the Lord that has directed them, right? Through by means of angels, man, namely death angels, angels that are sent to do and bring evil upon people as judgment, or to cause someone to do evil. Okay, that's why, a lot of times people, they don't even understand what it is that they got even going on, man. And that can be, different size things, even gifts, man. On a positive side, someone can have a gift and they don't even understand. Like an example would be Michael Jackson. All right, he, obviously the, king of pop. All right, great entertainer, great talent. And that dude was, moonwalking and dancing in his sleep, man, singing in his sleep. So that was a gift, man. He woke up with, like, that was something that was given. All right, that's just an example, but ultimately, when you go into the scriptures, there's not one person you will find that is just doing their own thing, that has their own free will against the Lord. Okay, Joseph. Okay, when Joseph was sold into slavery, into Egypt, do you think that, he wanted that to happen? Okay, the prophet Jonah, all right, he actually, wanted to avoid doing a certain task, and the Lord, corrected him, man, sent him on his way, saying, basically, you're going to do what I tell you. You're going to do my will. All right. Job. All right. Read about Job and the hell Job caught. You think that was his will? You think, so there's all the prophets, the men of the Lord, they weren't having their own free will. Nobody has their own free will. So let me get a precept on that. I mentioned Job. All right. And ultimately, the Lord is controlling this, because the Lord is the director, man. He is the creator. He's the one that has mapped out this whole thing. He's got the blueprint for everything that's happening on the earth, man. This is Job chapter 33 and verse 14. It says, for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai speaketh once, yea twice, yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction. Okay, so people's instructions are sealed. Okay, people are given instructions. They're instructed to do and act how they do upon the earth, man. Why? Because that's the Lord's will. All right, it was already determined before anybody wakes up what it is that they're going to do, what their destiny is, what they're going to fulfill, what role or lot that they're going to have. Okay, I mentioned the prophets, but even the heathens, man, they ain't got no free will. See, and that's the thing. That's why these heathens are proud as well, because they don't believe in the Lord. They're proud against the Lord. They believe and worship idols. So they're going around, with all this pride, but not even knowing the Lord is the one that's giving them over to these idols, man. All right. But even look at Pharaoh. Okay, Pharaoh, was a ruler over Egypt, all right, ancient Egypt, and that was a superpower back in ancient Egypt. And what happened to Pharaoh? Pharaoh, was puffed up and proud, and the Lord brought his pride down, man. The Lord destroyed him and his army. All right, in the parting of the sea, namely the Gulf of Suez. Okay, the parting of the Red Sea. Where the Israelites walked through on dry land, but Pharaoh and his army was drowned. So, and it even tells you that how the Lord raised them up for his purpose to glorify the Lord's name. All right. So Pharaoh didn't have free will in that. Okay. Now it says, then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. You see? So there it goes. Okay. So we understand this. So those that have the right mindset and the right, understand that nobody's doing their own thing. There is no free will. So these Christians, that are calling themselves Christians, they lack understanding. They don't have the true knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the Holy Bible, man. All right. The simple point of prophecy, the whole point of prophecy, which prophecy simply means to say before. Okay. These prophecies and events that are going to take place has been said and foretold already. So if that was the case, how could anybody go around that? They can't, because there's no free will. It's the Lord's will that is going to be done on the earth. Just like who rises in power and who falls. Okay, because these wicked elites, they think that they're doing their whole NWO, which we understand they're going to only get so far before the Lord cancels their plans. All right, this is Job 5 and verse 12. It says, he disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And these wicked elites, right, these Rothschilds, and these different small hat banking elite families, right, the devil that the Bible speaks of, they're only going to get so far in their plans, man. They think that they're in secret. They think that they are just going to get away with all the evil that they've got planned. But it's all in the Lord's plan. The Lord's got a trap, a snare waiting for them. All right. And ultimately, it's going to be the nuclear missiles, the nuclear destruction, the downfall of Babylon the Great, which is America, as a result of World War III. And that's another point. All right. World War III is a part of prophecy, and that is going to take place. And if these nations and leaders of, these countries and nations that have this power, if they knew that the destruction to come from those missiles was going to end everything, do you think that they would still do it? But they don't have the power not to do it. Okay? These wicked elites, they have the purpose to have the MOTB, the physical implant device in people. All right? And they think that that's their own mind, man. But really, it's the Lord's purpose, because he's the one that's controlling this movie. Let's get this here. This is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 1. It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. Okay? So check that out. Even the rivers, man. The flow and the courses of the rivers. Just like the Lord's in control of that, just like the Lord's in control of the rain. The Lord's in control of the kings and the rulers and the leaders of this world, controlling and turning their minds where he wants it to turn to. All right, that's what it means when it says their heart, meaning their mind. So the Lord is in control of all of this, and we are in a time where we're nearing the final moments of this wicked kingdom ruled by the Edomites, the so-called white people. All right, it's all leading up to the destruction, okay, of America, Babylon the Great, the downfall of these heathen nations, the return of our Lord, and the establishment of the kingdom of heaven on the earth for the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and our scattered people through their fathers. All right, this is all the Lord's will. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by coincidence. Nothing is by chance. It's all the Lord. All right, so I'm going to look at the last few scriptures before I close out. This is Isaiah 55 and verse 10. For as the rain cometh down and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So as for these prophecies, everything is going to happen exactly as the Lord said. Okay, the time of Jacob's trouble, all hell breaking loose, and a time of suffering for starting mainly the Lord's people, the tribes, but a time of trouble like never before on the earth for everybody, is going to be happening. That's going to take place. That's going to keep happening. The tribulations are going to increase. Okay, the scriptures speak about the beginning of sorrows, wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes in diverse places, the signs of the end, and the signs of the return and coming of our Lord. All right, the MOTB, the hour of temptation, where all are going to be tried and tempted and tested. All right, whether they're going to receive and take that implant, or they're going to refuse and reject it. And you're going to have the elect that are going to reject it and be delivered. All right, you're going to have some that even lose their lives, for the truth, for the testimony, as martyrs, to receive salvation. All right, but through the to glorify the Lord, even in losing their lives, man. So these things are all a part of the Lord's will, man. All right, America being destroyed by these nuclear missiles, that is going to happen. Okay, exactly as the Lord said. All right, and these prophecies are going to happen sequentially, all right, in sequence. Okay, ultimately we understand the ICBM missiles being one of the final prophecies to take place. Okay, the destruction and return of our Lord, the deliverance. All right, so with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. I gotta make a move. So yeah, just going into some scriptures, man, showing there is no free will, man. Okay, but all the perfect will of the Lord, man. All right, the scriptures say that I, the Lord, form the light and create darkness. I make peace and evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So the Lord is the one that's in control, man. All right, so we must trust and believe in him, all right, to the end. So with that, I'll say shalom to the hopeful elect.